Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Dear students of BS fourth semester, Assalamu alaikum. And the topic for today's discussion is presuppositions. And this topic is very important from the communication perspective, but we are going to target it specifically as a main phenomena, main issue in semantics. So let's see that how this topic is connected to our study of meanings. Basically, presupposition is a linguistic and cognitive phenomena, and we know that in this presuppositions is a phenomena where a speaker assumes that certain information is already known or accepted by the listener. And this assumption of speaker is the one that he already he is having this assumption before he or she speaks even his or her utterance, or before beginning his conversation he is having this assumption or assumptions that certain information is already known or accepted by the listener. So, in simple words, we can say that presupposition is an assumption that a speaker, if we look at this concept from the communication perspective, so we can say that sender takes for granted and assumes that receiver already knows or accepts certain assumptions. So, so when we are taking or considering it from the communication perspective, so then we can use the word sender and receiver. And under the same heading, we have two other concepts like sender could be speaker or writer, and in the same way, message that is encoded by the sender, it could be a spoken message or it could be a written message. And in the same way, the receiver could be like either he or she can be a listener or a reader of that message. So here we see that this is something, presupposition is a phenomena that is connected with speaker or writer or the sender of the message. So let's see that how these assumptions are hidden within the messages. So it is the information that is implied. It is explicit. No, sorry, it's hidden. It's not clearly stated within the sentences. Like here, you see an example sentence: John stopped smoking. So, if we look at this sentence, the word stop triggers a presupposition. And the presupposition is that John used to smoke in past. This is the presupposition about the sender of this message or the speaker or writer of this message assumes or he or she takes for granted that and that the receiver of this message, the listener or reader of this message, either he or she already knows or accepts this assumption that John used to smoke. So there are different types of triggers that are used by the senders, and we are using presuppositions in our daily communication, in our own language, in our the languages that we are using in academic settings. We are using these concepts, these phenomena. But the thing is that we don't know. And here in the class of linguistics, and specifically in the class of semantics, that is focused on the meanings or the study of meanings, we see that presupposition refers to the assumptions of speakers, where the speaker is assuming that listener already knows or accepts certain information. So different type of triggers are highlighted over here, like definite articles, and we will see that in the second example. Okay, so uh, as I told you, that presupposition refers to implicit assumptions, and these assumptions are made by the sender about the receiver, and it is somehow based on the background knowledge or beliefs. So, in other words, we can say that presupposition refers to an underlying assumption or belief that is taken for granted or presumed to be true, or in a given context. So, hidden assumptions, uh, or these are the implications that are conveyed by the sender. Sender could be speaker or writer, even if they are not clearly stated, if they are not explicitly stated in a sentence or a phrase. As we saw or discussed the example, John stopped smoking, and we see that this sentence presupposes that John used to smoke in past. So the presupposition is that John used to smoke, and this is something that is assumed to be true or accepted by the listener, regardless of this, that whether it is clearly stated, clearly mentioned in the sentence or not. So as we are seeing over there in the notes, that it can be triggered by various linguistic elements such as articles, verbs, certain adjectives. They point out that what kind of presupposition could be there. Here we have one another example. Let's see that example and discuss that what sort of presuppositions are in it. Here we have an example, and the sentence or an utterance is that Mary sold the red car. So there are like two or three presuppositions hidden within this car, and many presuppositions are hidden that we haven't stated over here. Like Mary had a car, and the car was red. So these are two details that are not like claimed or stated within, but we see that sold means that he had a car, and that car was of red color. Okay, sometime like we can also presuppose this thing, or we can also assume that Mary is a rich lady or rich woman. So these are presuppositions not stated clearly within the sentence. So the listener knows about this car. This is the assumption. So presuppositions can also be used strategically, and we see number of fields, experts, professionals, they are using such type of statements uh, on a regular basis. Like here we have example, and we see that often lawyers or police personnels, they use such type of statements to gather information from the people whom they are investigating. Like, when did you stop cheating on your taxes? This is a very interesting sentence, simple sentence, but we see that it is having a presupposition, and the presupposition is that the listener had cheated on taxes before the current moment. So the sentence might be from the side of an investigation agency, or a police personnel or a tax inspector, and we see that if the person with whom this individual is talking, if he is giving certain kind of information about this, it proves that this individual accepts that in past he was cheating on his taxes. So we are saying that presuppositions can also be used strategically to imply certain information without clearly stating that. As you saw this example. Within this sentence, listener has, like we are presupposing that listener had cheated on their taxes in past. We are doing this regardless of whether it is true or not. It's not like this that it must always be true, but from this statement, we get this information that the speaker of this sentence or the sender of this sentence is presupposing that the listener um, agree or accept this reality. So, by phrasing the sentences in this way, the speaker implies that the listener has cheated on their taxes without directly assuming them. So, by understanding presuppositions, it's very important in communication and specifically in the interpretation because presuppositions can affect the meanings. And if we look at the implications or implications of these presuppositions, these are very important. By identifying and analyzing presuppositions, we can better understand the intended meanings, and it also supports or it also helps us for the clear understanding of the context of the message. So this is the basic information about presupposition within communication. Specifically, we are focusing on the meanings, the hidden meanings, the meanings that are implied, implicit. These are not clear meanings, but we see that these sentences are providing us meanings. Now let's move towards the second concept, and this concept is entailment. Within communication, we see sentences are like sometime having a relation with it, with other sentences within a text or conversation. So, as in the previous classes, we were studying the lexical relations. That was the relation of one word with another word. Here we are seeing that entailment is a logical relation between two sentences in which the truth of one sentence guarantees the truth of another sentence. So this is very important that entailment is basically uh, a relationship. If sentence A entails sentence B, then whenever A is true, sentence A is true, sentence B must also be true. But the thing that we have to consider is that the entailment is directional relation. It means that if A entails B, then it does not mean that B necessarily entails A. Okay, this is something that we have to be very conscious about. It is not like A is equal to B. It is directional in one directional, like A entails B. It does not mean that B necessarily entails A. Okay, so examples will help us to understand the concept. It will illustrate the entailment, the concept of entailment. Let's see in the first example. Mary ate a sandwich for lunch. Here we see that they have specified one thing. So within this sentence, we have information, and that information is that Mary ate something. Okay, and that specific thing is sandwich. So if we look at the relationship, but before that we will read the second sentence. Mary ate food. If we try to see the relationship between these two sentences, we see that the first sentence is having a relation, logical relation with the second sentence, in which if we think that the first sentence is true, then second sentence must also be true. Why? Because if Mary ate a sandwich, it means that she ate food. If A entails B, because sandwich is food, so it's clear that entailment is there. The relationship between these two sentences is very clear. But it does not mean that if A entails B, B must entail A, because you see that if we try to reverse the sentence sequence, so it's not necessary that if we go other way, it must also be true. Like you see that because Mary could have, like, if we reverse the sequence, Mary ate food for lunch, it does not mean that Mary ate sandwich. Why? Because in the category of food, there are a number of other items. So Mary could have eaten something other than a sandwich. That is also possible. So from this the discussion, we got the idea that entailment is directional. It is directional. Okay, it's not A is equal to B, because normally we think that if A is true and B is true, so it means that B is also equal to A. It's not like that. It's unidirectional. It goes this way, but it's not necessary that it will also go this way. So it's directional. Okay. Entailment is directional. If A entails B, B does not necessarily entails A. So the thing which we discussed over here is the relationship between two statements, two premises, two sentences, and the relationship is that if A is true, then B must be necessarily be true. But important point is that the relation of entailment is directional. I hope that these two concepts will be clear. And if you have any questions, you can ask about the concepts that we have discussed over here. So briefly, if we look at presuppositions and entailment, presupposition is something that relates to the intended meanings by speaker, and these meanings are hidden assumptions, and these are the assumptions that are implicitly conveyed by the sentence. Whereas entailment is the relationship between two sentences, two statements, where one statement implies another. So from this, we see that how connection develops between a how communication develops, how one sentence is related to another sentence. And if we break this sequence, what will happen? Communication will rupture, it will diminish, or problems will occur within communication. I believe that this topic, the points that we have studied up till now, will be clear to you. So let's move towards the third important concept within this discussion, and the concept is inference. Let's see inference, and I believe that these three basic concepts will help you to understand the concept of communication in better way. So this inference is is the concept that is related to the receiver of a message. Okay, inference is the process of drawing conclusions. What we are doing in inference, we are inferring, we are drawing conclusions. And what sort of conclusion we will draw? That depends upon our background knowledge, that depends upon common sense of the receiver and the context in which that information is provided to them, to provide it to the receiver of the message. So we have like levels of meanings, like surface meanings are there, and sometimes we have deeper meanings. And it if a receiver wants to understand deeper meanings, for that that receiver should have a good background knowledge. He or she should have a sound faculty of common sense, and they should have a clear understanding of the context. So if they utilize all these elements, and then after that move towards drawing conclusions from all this information, they can infer meanings in a better way, or they can go for deeper meanings. They can understand the deeper meanings in better way. So for understanding deep meanings or deeper meanings, listener, reader, or a receiver of message should utilize background knowledge, common sense, and context. Here we have two examples. The students were silent during the lecture. You see there. So there are words like students and lecture. Okay, silence. These words are like helping us. If we have a background knowledge of classroom, if we have visited school, college, university, if we studied over there, we know that the people who are studying within these institutions are called students. So at once this word student, it evokes an image of a classroom. The second important word is lecture. You see here the lecture, during the lecture. It means someone is lecturing. It is it points towards an individual that is that if someone is lecturing, he or she must be a teacher or a lecturer. So here we do not have words that specifically points towards a classroom setting or school or college setting, but the words they are suggesting the things. So we can from this message we can infer that the lecturer was speaking. This is inference. We are inferring that the lecturer was speaking in the classroom of a college, school, or a university, and students who are sitting within a lecture room or classroom, they are silently listening to this lecture. So what we have done, we have used our background knowledge, common sense, and we tried to see that what type of context it might be, and we get a clear inference over here that the lecturer was speaking on that moment when the students were silently listening to the lecture of that teacher. Let's see the second example, and this example is more clear as compared to the first example. What is this sentence? John walked into the room with a wet umbrella. First, do not we will skip this word, wet umbrella with an umbrella. Okay. Now we can infer two types of things from this message. John walked into the room with umbrella. This umbrella, it suggests two things. The one thing is that because we know, we have background knowledge, we have common sense that people use umbrella either to save themselves from the sunlight, or the second purpose of using umbrella is that when we go outside in rain, we use umbrella. So if we do not have this word wet, it has two, we can go for two inferences. But by adding this word wet, this wet is a trigger. It triggers a, a specific kind of inference. When do we use umbrella? And we have two possible inferences, potentials are there. Like one is towards the first inference could be that sunlight and we are trying to save ourselves. The second is raining outside and we use umbrella to save ourselves. So if umbrella is wet, it suggests that it was probably raining outside. So you see that how these words are triggering different meanings without directly stating. So we as a listener, so inference is the concept that is related to the listener, whereas the first two concepts, the first one, presupposition, was is related to the sender of the message, and entailment is a logical relation between the statements, between the sentences within a conversation, or a text. So three main concepts that we studied in today's discussion. The first one was presupposition, and you can easily link these concepts to communication channel. In communication channel, we have sender. Sender encodes message, and this message is decoded by receiver. Two types of senders. A written message. If we have a written message, we have writers, and for conversation, we have speakers. Here we have messages in two forms. Message could be spoken or written message. Written or spoken message. So on that basis, receivers are also of two kinds, listeners and readers. So for example, you are sending a written message. Written message will be in written form, and there we have reader who decodes that message. If you are in a conversation, you will have spoken message, and a receiver here will be a listener. So the concept of presupposition is by the sender. Presupposition. Entailment is basically a relationship between two statements, two sentences. So it means that within message, you can identify number of